Hello, good evening. How are you doing? I hope you're well. So, today it's a Saturday, even though it's a Saturday, I kind of accidentally ended up having like a director's day, which is what I name it when I sit with my business and just kind of tune into all the pieces of it. And something really interesting came up today when I was doing it, and it's kind of where I look at my business, my services, the way I'm doing things, the energy behind what I'm doing, and just tuning into all of these kind of different working parts. And today I started to go through some of my old journals, and I love kind of looking back, reflecting from years ago. And I found a journal from, I think it was like something like must have been 7 years ago. It was right at the start, and I had all these kind of notes and things from when I was really early on in the online space, and I was kind of thinking of this idea for a website, thinking of how I wanted to go out into the world and help people and create what I've got now. And I started reading through some of the journaling kind of prompts and things that I was like venting and ranting about. And there are a couple of things that kind of jumped out at me, where I realized, oh, I've only just got to that kind of stage now, or I've only figured out some of this now. And when I say now, I mean like in the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks, right? There's a couple of shifts I made, and I've just, yeah, kind of gone through big shifts and transformations in the last few weeks. About it's endless, as I'm sure it is with you, but particularly in the last few weeks. So I had this moment where I suddenly felt really deflated. And I was thinking, 7 years it's taken me to get to this point, and for me to realize these things that I realize and feel and really back energetically. And I had this moment where I felt today, where I felt really like really tapped into the bullshit. And I just started to kind of go into this like mini spiral of, this is bullshit. It's taken me this long. So I kind of just let myself roll around on that track a little bit, because I know better. I know how to take myself out of that, but I also know to let myself just feel these feelings that were coming up. And then in came the inner critic, the way it does, right? Sometimes, and started berating me for all these things I hadn't figured out. Anyway, so I just, let it run. I came back to myself, and and once I do that, I just let myself just kind of feel it. And then I brought in my guides, HQ, and I channeled a little bit on it, and I was just sort of saying, "What the hell?" and uh, and I received a really great message from them, which I wanted to share with you, because as soon as they shared it with me, I was like, "Of course." So what they said was, imagine if you rewound 7 years in your business and life experience to go back to like 2015, and they said, if you'd have written these things out in your journal and you had created them, stepped into them that month, and maybe, and they said, they sort of showed me, imagine if it took like just like 2, 3 months, um, and then you'd have achieved it. They said, how do you feel about not having said the 7 years of life experience, lessons, growth, walking that path, traveling that part of your journey? And as soon as they said that, reminded me, I really tapped into that, and I was like, of course, of course. Hi, Darren. I was um I was just talking about just going through my journal from sort of 7 years ago, and having a bit of a downer today for a moment, thinking some of the things I wanted back then, I just tapped into like very recently. And when I ranted and let myself feel that today, and then the guidance I got from my team, they were reminding me, they were saying, well, if you got those things straight away, stuff I journaled and really wanted to kind of create back then, would you have wanted to take away the last 7 years worth of lessons and growth in these areas? Because I've gone on this like entrepreneurial journey, which, by the way, will bring up everything about you. So it will absolutely bring up all the unhealed parts of you. So when they said that and they shared that with me today, I just instantly felt better, and I just realized how much gold there is in the bullshit sometimes, and how much gold there is in in the journey, in the screw ups, in the things that we feel that we're not achieving properly or to the standard, or those areas of life where we feel like we could just do better or we wish we'd have got there sooner. And when I really look back at it, even though I wouldn't necessarily want to do the last 7 years again in this entrepreneurial space, creative space, but I definitely felt today when I tapped into it, I really value the lessons, the things that I learned along the way. And it's an obvious point, right? But it's funny how it just snuck in. Like I see that in life. I always get, I wrote a book. I get that you learn the lessons, but it's funny how when I looked in my journals around business and creativity, suddenly that inner critic was right there on my shoulder saying, "You've only just reached that point now, or you haven't even stepped into some of this that you actually wanted 7 years ago. You're still working on it." And I just thought, for a moment, oh my God, 7 years and I'm still only XYZ. So it's just a message for you, I guess, to remind us of the inner critic, first of all, notice when that sneaky little voice comes in, but also remembering that so much gold along the way. So actually what it prompted me, I really felt that today, and I let myself feel it and remember all the lessons and all the stuff. And if I hadn't screwed up and it hadn't taken me so long to get to a certain point, I wouldn't I wouldn't know what I know now. And I certainly wouldn't be teaching when I'm guiding and mentoring and doing the deeper work with people. I'd be guiding them in a very different way, I suppose, if I didn't personally experience what I experienced and I know to be true, right, in my own life journey. So it was just a great realization. So what I actually ended up doing, and I'll leave a link. It's around the description in my membership. So just those of you who are interested on this quickly, in my membership, I do it's Divine Money, Magic and More, where we talk about business, entrepreneurial, money stuff, creativity, life, relationships, everything and anything. So I decided on this month doing the deep dive session that I do. I do a weekly session in there. We do a monthly money deep dive, whatever comes up. So I've just decided next week it is. So I've done it. I'm going to do it on business failings and golden lessons. So I'm just sharing that for any of you who would like to come in on that, because I'm going to get really real and raw, sharing the personal experiences in there that we don't talk about out here. Out here is obviously very public. So if you're interested in that, just check out the link. So if you're on Facebook, you'll see it up in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube on my channel, you just go into the description of the video and you'll see the link, or theawakerevolution.com/membership. But that's what prompted that. So I was really reflecting on that today, and I wanted to just come on and share that in the live stream to remind you of when you're berating yourself or you think you've gone through things that maybe took you longer than you wanted. Know that there's so much gold. I know that there's so much gold in the challenge, in the pain, in the suffering. Doesn't mean, and I'm not saying that we need to experience a lot of it to grow and to move, but it just seems to be the way that many of us do. We often go through the painful struggle to find the gold, right? I think that we do need to shift that as well, because there's also a lot of gold to be found in expansion. But it's just that's a lot of our experiences, right? A lot of us have gone through some of these challenges in all different areas, all different ways. So Darren, yeah, we learn every day, good and bad experiences. Yeah, had many ups and downs, always learning. Exactly. And it's just a continuous thing, right? Learning, learning, learning. And we're never there. Like I never consider myself to have ticked off anything because even when I feel like I've really got a lesson, there's always another level and there's always another expansion. So it's just an ongoing thing. So Darren saying my mum died 7 years ago next month. Oh, wow. The start of my negative learnings. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of things probably kicked off for you, right? And that might bring up stuff, anniversaries do when things come up. So it's incredible, when you do that. And actually for you as well, Darren, as you shared that, you might even feel like when it comes, when the anniversary comes up or those dates on the calendar come up, sometimes we do, we still feel it, of course, all those years on, but also it's an invitation to look at how much you've grown in that, so many negatives since. Yeah. Yeah. So you've I've got some weird YouTube comments coming up now. Okay, I'll delete those later. really odd when people do that. They just kind of jump on and post weird links. I don't know why that is. It even a real person or is that a robot? Who knows? Anyway, that's on YouTube. Yeah, many negative since. Yeah, so maybe that was when things really shifted for you, right? Things really, really, yeah, moved and yeah, but still fighting, still keeping on going. So on that energy, on that, I'm going to pull you up on it. So what I found anyway is when we're in the fighting energy, and maybe I don't know whether you genuinely feel that, whether that's just a chosen word. Trolls and bots on PooTube, yes, stupid stuff. I just delete it. At least make it relevant to what I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah. So get out of that fight energy. I encourage you if you can, because I used to do that. I still do it. I kind of check myself, but when we're kind of in that, I'm going to fight life, and I'm going to, we see it with the world events. I'm going to fight this bullshit. And I'm going to actually, when we're in that energy, you can do it that way. Might be familiar to do it that way, but you find that if you do, life tends to give you more stuff to fight against. So I learned that in my illness because I started to want to fight, right? So just a switch there, if it feels okay for you to do that, just shifting into, just kind of moving through your experience, right? You can do it with like full on energy, like you're going to take on whatever comes, you're going to take whatever comes your way and move with it. But maybe we can release the fight energy, because that is the thing that, yeah, it kept me in there for a long time. Yeah, so you don't fight now. Yeah, you relax and ignore it all. Perfect. You used to fight, but not anymore. Yeah, great. That's exactly what I'm talking about, because it's that kind of fight. Yeah, no, maybe it's just the way I read it. No, not wrong words, Darren. Perfect words. Yeah, I'm glad that you relax and ignore it all now, because it's, or not even ignore it, but it's just like relax into it, because we've seen that with the world stuff, right? The more we fight, and kick up against stuff, it doesn't really do anything. What we have to do is hold that different vibration, right? So yeah, so just looking at the gold, so just a reminder and encouragement for you to maybe even take some time today or this weekend to, I like doing this, just reflecting on your life experience, and even just thinking about where you were a year ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. And even if you feel, because I know some of you, when you do that, you might feel, oh, I was in a better position X amount of years ago. But also look at your inner world. Like, how much more aware are you now about certain things? How much more tuned in are you? And I say that because if you're tuning into a live stream like this, you definitely are. So there's always, even if you think your life isn't maybe where you want it to be, look at the growth. And that's what I did today. Because my mind does it sometimes still. My inner critic will still come in and will still say, you should be further along. You should have got this lesson already. You should have ticked these things off your list. So I do still feel that come in, but when it does, I just notice it. So I want to just encourage you to do the same, because you've evolved so much more than your mind will give you credit for, and you have got so much gold in some of your lessons and your growth and the things that have happened to you. You're walking through this earth, like things you've experienced, only you've experienced them in your exact way, right? So whether you've gone through divorces, redundancies, illnesses, whatever we've been through, we've experienced it in our own unique way. So we have this like amazing gold inside of us, right? That our soul banks, which I love, that remembrance, because your soul also houses all of the previous accumulated wisdom you've received from previous times. So we are walking gold mines is what we are. So I was so angry for so long. Now I let them do as they want, and I love and live my life as calm as I can. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what I try and do. There are times when sometimes we don't feel like that. Every now and then I'll feel it. I'm pretty good most of the time, but every now and then I'll feel it and I'll get really like frustrated, and then I'll just remember, like, no, everybody's on their own journey, right? It's a funny one. So we are all individual and no one experiences anything the same. Exactly. And that's why you're so unique. We're all so unique, and we can only, we only see it through our lens. Like, we're the only soul in the whole entire universe. Isn't that amazing? I think that's amazing. And that's why you're so treasured. You watching this, you watching the replay, you're so treasured because there's only one of you. And that's a real thing. There's only one of you. So you walking around experiencing what you're experiencing, it's such an amazing process. Doesn't always feel like it, I know, but it's just understanding and really giving yourself. So I just highly encourage you to take a moment today, even now after this, and just reflect and just see if you can give yourself a massive pat on the back for all that you've been through, the things that you've moved through. Every one of you have been through things, and we don't compare stories because everybody's story is different. How can we compare? You know, sometimes people do that. They say, "Oh, I haven't been through what you've been through," or, you know, but it's not about that. It's like anyone can go through more and worse, and it also depends on how you carry things. One of the things that I learned years ago was this idea of, you know, imagine if you have a plate and you're holding your plate and all your life stuff is on it, and just say all your friends, they all have plates and all their life stuff is on it. And sometimes we hold the plate differently. So sometimes, you know, someone has a paper plate, so they could have one experience in it and it's on their paper plate and it goes through that paper, and they can't hold it that well. So it takes that life event to maybe really make them hit rock bottom. Maybe somebody else, their plate is made of more kind of steel, so they could take that, but they might need another 10 things before their plate gets really overloaded. So we can't compare journeys, right? If you've been pushed to the limit in some way, that's your own unique experience. It might have come through many, many different ways, right? But I would just want you to know that, like, validate your own experience. It's not about because I've written a whole book about my experiences, but I guarantee I was aware of this when I was writing it. Any aspect I spoke about in the book, I guarantee that there are 100 people out there who have experienced some thread of what I spoke about, but on another scale where, my goodness, it would be like times 100, right? So everybody feels it differently. The important thing is how you carry it. Like, how is it impacting you? And then looking at, well, can you give yourself a massive pat on the back for all that you've been through every single day on this earth? Not always easy. Everything you've experienced, everything you felt, there's so much gold. So I had a really good reflective kind of session on it with myself today. So I just want to encourage you to do the same. And then when you do that, you really understand and you can see just how far you've come. God, it's such an amazing life journey. And most people don't take the time to look, because they're just onto the next thing, onto the next thing. They're not reflecting, they're not going internal. But if you do, you'll see the amazing gold that you've walked, and it's to be treasured. It really is. And look how much you've grown. So your live streams really help. I'm so glad. Thank you. Yeah, and a full plate looks different from all angles. Exactly, exactly. You know, so we're all different. So hold that uniqueness, find the gold, really, really do. Feel free to comment here if you're watching the replay as well, and let me know if you found any gold. If you have you remembered any gold from your own life experiences, because there's so much, so much. So that is it. I'm going to go now. It's Saturday, switching off. Yeah, might watch a movie or something, don't know yet. Feeling very cozy, feeling very nice. I'm glad it's Saturday. Just feel very like just wrapping myself up now. Yeah, and just having a cozy evening. Yes, cheers to you, Darren, and thank you for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching the replay, and I'll be back here on my page or channel tomorrow. Oh yeah, and if you want to check out that, join me in my membership. I'm going to be sharing, going to go into all of that next. That's our theme for the session next week. Yeah, next week, next Tuesday. But I do a ton of other stuff in the membership. So if you want to join me and just have that kind of monthly membership, is more for monthly guidance and support. And being in this group, kind of like-minded souls, and I'm going to grow that more and more. And I love the space in there. So you can check out all the info. And I added recently intuitive pricing, which I love. So it just means there's a price for the membership, which may or may not align with you where you are right now. And if not, you can choose from 10 different price points. I love how I've set it up. It makes me feel excited. So hopefully it's accessible to you if you you want to come and join me every month, and you just choose whatever you want to pay to join, which I think is exciting. So there's no limits if you want to join. Okay, so I shall see you in there if those of you are choosing to join, and if not, I will see you here on my page anyway. So have a good rest of your night. Enjoy your Saturday. Okay, lots of love. I'll see you soon.